Tunnel Rat alert. Civil defense information will be broadcast at 6:40.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Y2K, how can we prepare?
Stop a few of their machines and radios. Throw them into darkness for a few hours.
We are fighting for our lives. My family must survive.
Oh, for 5 years. 1,000 gallons of gas, air filtration, water filtration.
Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada. Streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, and Odyssey. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim. Today is May the 7th, 2023, and this is episode 301 of Workshop Radio. Now, you might say, what the hell? Tim, there's a weird logo in the bottom. You just called this Workshop Radio, not the Workshop Podcast. There was a weird logo that came up at the beginning of the show. Well, if you missed last night's episode, I scared everybody by telling everyone it was going to be our last ever episode of the Workshop Podcast. All that really meant was it's going to be a refresh, a rebrand, ever so slightly. We're embracing the talk radio format here, otherwise known as Workshop Radio, the soundtrack to getting shit done. So, you guys have heard me talk before, but the whole idea is I want the content that I create being the stuff that you guys can put in your earbuds, walk around, and build the life you want to build. So, you guys know my love of talk radio. I've embraced it. I love it. Everybody has a podcast. So for me, I want it to be a radio show. So there it is, guys. I hope you love it. For those of you who've just tuned in and wondered what the hell's going on, I hope that figures it out for you. Real quick, let's get the announcements on the go, and then we're going to bring Matt on from Farm Hop Life. We're going to have some fun tonight. We got Byron Roberts and Chris Dixon in the chat so far. Good evening, gents. Number one, the Thrivalist Fair, guys. I am going to be in Addy, Washington, May 28th and 29th. It's going to be a great time. I've been trying to branch out the workshop. I got invited to this event. It's going to be a great time because there's going to be some different faces, some different ears there than what some of the other events I've been to. So it's going to be great. That Sunday evening, May 28th, we're going to have a around the fire get together, a workshop get together. I got a special piece of swag for each and every one of you who show up, something that you'll only be able to get at in-person workshop meetups in 2023. So come by, see me, have a sit. Maybe we'll all record at least a live in-person podcast while we're there. But either way, go to thrivalist.org, $50 for the whole weekend for a family. You can't beat that. Number two, after last evening's episode, I realized there's people that don't know that we do a book club here. Andrea reached out and said, Tim, where's the link? Well, guess what? I put it in the show notes tonight. So if you want to join the Workshop Book Club, we call it the Post-Apocalyptic Book Club. This month, we are doing One Second After. So we all read it, we come together for a live stream, and we chat about it. Now, I didn't give you a lot of notice because this Thursday is going to be the episode. But if you want to join, grab the Telegram link and go from there. Finally, Tuesday, toolmantim.co. Tickets are going to go on sale for the workshop. I'm excited. It's going to be a great time. Going to announce it first in Telegram. We're going to limit it to 30 spaces to start. It'll be $50 to hold your space, and it's $200 total. That's for a weekend that includes food and all the presentations you can digest, plus all the in-person meetup and fellowship that we can possibly do. So I'm excited. I can't wait. It's going to be a busy summer. It's going to be a great summer, and I can't wait to see you guys here in Provost. Okay, with that, guys, I'm going to bring on Mr. Matt from A Farm Hop Life. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Not bad. So I was prepping for the show this evening, and I thought, when did I have Matt on the show before? And I'm looking back through, we hit 300 last night. I'm looking back through the episodes, and I'm like, I haven't had Matt on before, but I was on your show once.
Yes.
And that was a lot of fun.
You got to tell your story.
Yes, which, I love hearing other people's stories, but it's kind of fun to talk about yourself once in a while. No, I'm just kidding.
That's why we podcast, right?
That's so true, because my wife got tired of listening to me. So I got on here so everybody else would have to. And now she's coming on, and I joke. I say, hey, you can just take it over, hun. You'll be good.
Yeah, she's got it. No problem.
Hey, Dowie Farm. Hello, hooligans. Good evening, sir. Good to have you. So, Mr. Matt, for those who don't know, what in the world is Farm Hop Life? Who are you guys? What do you do? Tell me your story.
So Farm Hop Life originated from struggling on my own homestead.
Sure.
That I'm like, man, if I had another pair of hands, I would get so much done. Just kind of let that sink in. A couple weeks later, why can't I be that guy for somebody else?
Yeah.
And so that's how the idea started. And this year we were supposed to get on the road, like Airbnb the house, and like this whole grand plan of I'm going to hit 20 homesteads in 2023, have an awesome goal, have a great time with the family. But plans changed.
Yeah.
As they do. And I was offered a job that I could not turn down. And so I ended up taking the job late last year, and have been that's been like a real shift in like dynamic for our family. And then, we've also turned that extra money, like paying down debt, and then also putting more money back into this place, making it really nice, like some nice finishing touches.
So how was that? Because I remember we had I know we chatted a little bit about that. And because if you're like me, when you announce plans, partially I announce plans publicly to give me accountability. And there's always something in the back of my head that I think, shit, I told everybody I'm going to do this, and now life has changed. But I'm proud of you, number one. I think I may have told you that before, and if I didn't, I am. Because
Thanks.
Whatever happens, you have to, it's you, your family, you got to grab life by the balls and run with it. So how was that? Because that really did kind of change your content identity a little bit, didn't it?
It sucked. It sucked a lot. Because my wife put it like a pretty good way. She's like, I had this whole mindset, like he's going to be home, like around with the kids. Like we get to spend all this time together, like basically 24/7, traveling around and doing all this stuff. And then now I have to travel for work, and I'm not home all the time. And, I used to work, within basically 20 minutes of the house for the most part as an electrician. Now I have to work up in Missoula, which is an hour away, and that sucks. So everything changed. And then, putting yourself out there, like you said, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. These are our plans. And then having to basically backtrack on that. Yeah. Pivot's a great word. Chris Dixon. It felt like a failure, like, hey, you said you were going to do this. And like, I know, I'm sorry. I feel like crap about it. So I don't know. I don't know what you want me to do.
So because do you still like, okay, I know we weren't going to go down this route, but you mentioned it about the job, and I'm like, so you don't still feel like crap about it, do you?
A little bit.
A little bit.
I'm doing the best I can.
Sure.
So last Saturday, the family and I, we went to a pig farmer, and I helped out for a couple hours, got an interview, got a tour. And so I'm doing like micro dosing of the 20 by 23 project.
So if I can encourage you in any way, shape, or form,
please.
There's many things that I have attempted to launch that have just failed to launch on my part. There are multiple things where I'm like, hey, this would be a great idea. And so I make it public because me and my mouth, I like to flap, and, but I like to set goals. I like to be, the big, hairy, audacious goals. The cool thing is that like what you're doing is not failing. What you're doing is a pivot. What you're doing is exactly what you need to do. I'm a firm believer in, okay, I'm going to say this, nobody get mad. There's no wrong decisions, because everything that you decide puts you in the place that you need to be right now. And so if that means you change what you want to do for a little while, great. But I'm going to guess that this job was really good for you and your family long term as far as building self-reliance. Am I close on that? Yeah. Yep. So, and a good friend, in our community, Amy Dingman, she took a huge pivot last year and was very open about it. And I appreciate that, because so often as content creators, we just like to gloss over, we don't like to talk about the pig shit or the mud. We just like to talk about the great accomplishments we've done. But truth be told, we all have terrible, horrible, no good, very bad days. And anyway, I'm proud of you. That takes a big man to step out and be honest that, hey, guess what? I thought I knew where I was going, but I didn't. And now I'm on for the ride. So I can't wait to see where you and your missus and your family end up, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. We're still working towards it. It's still something we want to do. Otherwise I would have like shut everything down out of embarrassment, but I still like doing the interviews. I still like going to visit farms. I still like helping people out. Like it wasn't hard work at all. I didn't think that the guy had me do. Just had me move a couple of bales of hay, take down some fencing, and like move some fence posts, fix some water dripping, something, irrigation, whatever. And yeah, we got a lot done in a short amount of time. So
all I can tell you, man, no matter what it is, if it's a job or content creation is the biggest one that I look at. You're never going to be where you think you're going to be from when you start. And if you are, you haven't done anything, right? So the great stories, the great experiences, they all happen out of these uncomfortable situations. And to see you go through it and to see you come out the other side, oh yeah, it's all that's way better. And people, I guarantee you, the people that listen and follow, they respect you for being honest, because I think in some instances there's not enough of that transparency and honesty in content creation. So because it's tough, like you think, man, I really screwed up. I'm not saying you, but I'm thinking some things I've done in the past. When you do something that's like, oh shit, should I really talk about it? And there's times I second guess myself, but then I come out and I'm like, no, I'm going to share this failure, or I'm going to share this stupid ass thing I did, so that other people be like, hey, it's okay. Becky and I talk about our struggles all the time that we went through for many, many years, and they're uncomfortable, but the more I talk about them, the less power it has over me. So anyway, it's great. I love seeing it. I can't wait to see where you go. And, I won't even ask you what your plans are, because I bet you they'll change again, right? So
probably.
So
man, if I could work remotely, that would be great.
You're going to work toward that maybe, or is that not
we'll
always?
See.
Yep.
It's a long shot, but
sure,
it's worth a shot, right? All you got to do is ask.
Exactly. And they only have to say yes once. That's the beauty of it, right? They can say no a bunch of times, but if you keep building yourself up and showing your worth and your value, oh man, you'll be golden. Just keep, start with a day or two, whatever. You know how it is. You play the game, get there, and make yourself indispensable, and you'll have the life you want to live, man.
Yeah.
So you come up with this crazy idea. So if anybody saw the title of tonight's show, we were going to try to get Matt on before I took my, I call it an epic road trip. It was 2 days or 3 days shorter than last year's, but I got an even longer one coming up later on this year, which will be great. But Matt said, well, actually, here, why don't you introduce it, Matt? What is the idea for tonight's show? What do you want to do?
So last September, my family and I took 2 almost back-to-back road trips.
Okay.
One with my mother-in-law out to Oregon from Montana, and then we flew from here later in September. We flew from here to LA, meet my parents, and then drove up to Sequoia and then back. And so that's a lot of miles. And so that's a lot of mileage for a lot of things to go wrong, and a lot of things that could have gone wrong but didn't. So I'm like, let's play a game, because like preppers were also like what if, man, what if, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why not make a game out of it? And we can learn from experiences, and like you just came from the road, so you got stories to share and shared lessons. So I thought we could.
And you sent me, so here's the fun part, guys. Matt sent me 10. So I have a list of the scenarios. We'll go through them, but the best part is I don't know which ones are real and which ones aren't. So as we go along, how are we going to do this, Matt? You're going to tell the story, and then the audience is going to kind of vote and see whether it was real or not, or how do you want to do it?
Let's let's throw out the situation. Did this thing happen or didn't? People can chime in, and then after a couple of seconds, we can say yes, this happened, or this didn't happen, and here's the story.
All right, guys. So we'll get started with the first one. So those out in the audience, if you want, you can guess. I'm going to guess too. I'll let you guys guess first a little bit, and then we'll find out from Matt. So the first one, I feel like we're playing Truth or Dare or something, and it's like 14 years old, and I'm hanging out at my buddy Alex's house. He had the coolest garage in the world. His grandfather renovated it to turn it into an apartment building or an apartment, and then he just let us teenagers hang out in there all the time. So we would hang out, not drink beer, and wrestle and play stupid games, So yeah, it'll be fun. So the first scenario is the camping air mattress inflator broke. So what I'm thinking, so if you guys, if there's anybody that wants to throw out there, hey, Chuck people. So once again, we're playing Truth or Dare. No, true or false. And so we're gonna throw out the scenarios, and you guys can pick. But in this one, the story goes that the camping air mattress inflator broke. Now, before we find out if it's true or not, I can just imagine that if it were true, that you probably got a headache trying to blow the thing up. That's what I'm thinking. So Brian
Alexovich was here to be like, oh, I'm sure he had a lot of practice. No problems there.
Yeah. If him and Josh show up later on, I'm sure we'll have some fun with it. But I'm going to go with, I think this one's legit. I think this may have actually happened with you. So go ahead. Give us the reveal there. Tell me what you think.
Yes. The air mattress inflator did break.
So what? Yeah. Oh, go ahead. There was a little, yeah.
Yeah, my internet got a hiccup on it. So the very last night, we're filling up the air mattress, and those things just have like a crappy little fan in them or whatever, right? And it just shattered into the internals just blew up, and I'm shaking it. There's like pieces falling out of it, and I just threw it in the garbage. we do not have another one, but thankfully we had just enough air in it to make it for the last night, and didn't need it again the rest of the trip. But that's one of those things. I should have had something as a backup in the truck, but I did not.
Yes. I mean, whatever. Yeah. I'm just thinking, because air mattresses drive me crazy. So when I went to prepper camp last year, and that the whole idea behind prepper camp is that you camp. I know, what a novel idea. And if you ever hear, whenever Becky and I go to events, we like to hotel it. We're pretend preppers. We don't really care for camping a whole hell of a lot. I mean, I will do it. So anyway, I bought a big boy fold out cot, and that was actually quite nice. I enjoyed that because air mattresses, they tend to lose air through the night. Sometimes they tend to insulate you from the cold, sometimes not.
Yeah.
What would have been a good backup plan so you were in a tent, were you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. My wife and I and the two kids, we were tent camping out there.
Oh, but you had enough air to get through it?
Yep. We got through it. So, I mean, a good backup would have been the DeWalt inflator, obviously, right?
I was just thinking, because I used to travel with that in the truck, and then I picked up that, it's a Cat brand cube. It's a booster for your vehicle. It's also like a battery pack to charge things off of.
Sure.
And then it has a compressor built in as well. And it's about 3/4 as fast as the DeWalt. The only downside is it doesn't have high flow. So, the DeWalt does high pressure or high flow. So like high pressure for tires, high flow for things like, inflatable unicorns or mattresses, that sort of thing. So it would have taken longer, but was there an option to even blow it up by mouth?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
It's got one of those things, or this weird hand pump thing built into it, I think. But yeah,
I'm not a big fan of those all-in-one. They're just, because there's a big failure, something can go wrong there,
Yeah, the quality of the air mattress overall is very, very good. It was just the inflator that
just
sucked.
blew to pieces. So the
I
impeller
still need to get a new one, or just get just different inflator, like just go broad spectrum like the DeWalt. So
that wouldn't be bad. Yeah, I like have you ever tried the little camping pads? They're they're inflatable, but they're only maybe an inch or two thick.
yeah, I don't like those because I end up turning and like sleeping on my side, and so like I just go straight to the ground basically.
Yeah,
And
I get it.
that,
I
yeah,
wondered.
I'm not a fan.
My big old ass hasn't tried one of them out yet, so I wasn't sure if they if they would or wouldn't. But I've seen some of them have like a compartment on the end. It's like almost works like those garbage bags. Have you ever seen people who will like blow things up so it opens up? You kind of crimp it over and then push the air into it. Those are kind of cool because they're quote unquote idiot proof, right? So
Sure. Yeah, those things look kind of crazy. Don't they also like float? Like you can put them on the water, or
yeah.
And they're huge, right? It's almost like a beanbag, but with air.
Yeah, I don't know. Something to look at anyway. I was thinking when you said the impeller broke, I almost thought maybe that it was going to shred your mattress too.
Oh, God.
But you were good. It didn't hurt the mattress. No.
No.
All I know is I think Dad still has them in the attic at the house. But when I was a kid, we used to go camping very occasionally, and he had the oldest. It smelled like rubber tires. Those old air mattresses, and they were either pump them up with your mouth, or he had a foot pump, but the hose had broken off years before. So he took a piece of like flexible copper pipe and drove it in there, and it worked, but it took about 3 days to pump it up. So I bet it's still up in the attic. It looked like those dodgeball balls you used to play with in high school, about half of one of those, you just step on it and it was all right. All right. So we're going to go to number 2 here, guys. So Byron guessed true on that one. I also guessed true. So I think that it's going to be like, whose line is it anyway, where the scoring's made up and the points don't matter, but we'll have fun with it. So, all right. So scenario number 2 on your dual road trips was that your wife threw her back out. Now, first I need to ask you, how old are your kids, or how old were they when you went?
2 and like 3 months.
Oh, so, okay. I'm leaning toward this might be true. So if anybody wants to put their answer out there, how was that with a 3-month-old in a tent?
It was actually pretty great. So there's something magical about fresh air that she just like, she must have slept like 20 hours a day. And it was pretty glorious that
just wore right.
But man, it was pretty cold though. It would get down below 40 at night and you're in a tent. So, I mean, we bundled her up like a little, like Inuit baby or something like that. And it like would check her, like feel her nose to see if, excuse me, if she was warm enough or not. But yeah, it worked out pretty good. Yep. She did great. She's still here.
That's something that people did for centuries. You know what I mean? You just kept your baby warm. And babies are surprisingly resilient if you have them swaddled, at least, Yeah. All right. So Byron says true. I'm going to say true simply because I remember what it was like anyway, carrying twins around. So did it actually happen?
Yep. Oh. She was at the bed of the truck and she was reaching in that, like standing on the ground, reaching in the bed of the truck to grab something. And just, that was it. That's all it took to throw her back out. And so we were staying in a yurt at the time in Oregon. And so we're 12 hours from home. This is when I'm like on like, I don't know, state health insurance or something like that. And so like, I can't figure out if we have like, if we're covered, do we go to the ER? Sure. Is this gonna work? Like, is this gonna set us back $15,000 or something? So something you might want to know ahead of time, what your coverage is when you go out of state and something like this happens. What did we do? I think we just basically Googled it. Like, is this gonna be fine? And for the most part, it was fine. But she had to like sleep with like her legs elevated and stuff like that. but yeah, it was all fine. But man, it made a pretty rough go. Had it like we after that, the next day we were supposed to take a couple of days to get back. We only made one stop, staying somewhere else to get back home. That was the end of the trip. So
that's a good tip about that, because we build, well, I'm not the greatest at it, but sometimes we try to build flexibility into our trips. Either we can end them shorter or go longer if need be. So for us this time, I don't know if you saw, but we hit a blizzard heading south into Minot. It was miserable. And it was about 6 hours kind of white knuckle driving, and I had enough of it. And when we got to Minot, they were shutting the city down that night. They're like, yep, all the stores were closing down because the storm was heading there. So we just said, forget it. We're going to take a day, because we could see the weather. We looked and we said, we're going to take a day, just relax in Minot, wait for the snow to pass and go the next day. And that was the best thing we did. Now, other times we've had to, drive double and get home sooner, simply to, for whatever reason. But So were you sleeping on an air mattress? She was, with her back like that?
That was a mattress, an old crappy mattress inside of the yurt. So it's like, we rented, it's a state-run campground on the coast of Oregon.
Okay.
And you can rent a yurt. She wanted to stay in her yurt, and my mother-in-law also wanted to stay in the yurt, so we stayed in the yurt. Don't do that. Like, Western furniture is all square, right? And obviously a yurt's round, and so there's all this like dead space. You got like this little walkway in the middle. It's for 5 people to stay in. It's pain in the butt. But we made it work. The yurt was fine. The mattress was fine-ish, and she got better.
Another tip that might work, and it would be quite a bit cheaper than possibly spending thousands, at ER at the merge or whatever, would be to find yourself a chiropractor on the road as well. That worked.
Yes.
I wrecked the hell out of my back 2 or 3 years ago, moving a dentist. I figured, I'm screwed. I'm going to need surgery or something like that. Like, I really did. And I just put off going to the doctor. I just swallowed Robaxacet like it was going out of style. Becky said, go to the chiropractor. And I'm like, well, he might kill me, because I never knew. Well, Stacy's his name. And anytime my back gets a little tweak now, I go right to him. But when I hurt my back like really bad, he had me at 80% after one treatment. So it won't hurt if you're in pain. Yep. And you're on, because my local guy, I think he charges $80 or $90 for a visit. Insurance covers most of that. But even if it doesn't, that's way cheaper, I would think, than an uninsured or an out-of-state visit to the emergency hospital or emergency room. So,
when you're I don't know, when you're out of state, it's 6 o'clock at night, and it's, I don't know, an hour and a half to a hospital. Like, not even like maybe 30 minutes to like a health clinic, not even like a hospital. You're way out there. So
did you have any,
who knows who close the chiropractor's at? That's
true. Did you have any Advil or Tylenol or anything like that with you?
Yep. Sure.
Good. That I find I do love Robaxacet, the Advil based one. It's like in a purple or bluish bottle.
Okay.
That when you're working hard and you wreck your back a little bit or just tweak something, it tends to usually be enough for minor strains and sprains to kind of take the edge off. So,
yeah.
Chris Dixon said, I threw my back out on the road and had to sleep upright in the truck with the heated seat on for a couple of days. Oh, now that's actually, there you go. That's something I wouldn't have thought of, would be to turn on the heated seats if you need some extra heat. So see, this is great. It's going to be we could write a little pamphlet on it when we're done with all these cute little tips.
Right. Yeah.
One more thought on this. We have AAA, so which appears Alberta, whatever, Automotive Association. And it's great. Like that any prepper who says I don't need insurance, anyway, I don't agree with you. I think you're wrong, but that's fine. Anyway, you can buy health insurance for Canadians going to the States, and you buy it for the length of time that you're going to be there. So when I come down for 7 weeks and I'm going to be working in the woods and that sort of thing, I'm going to purchase that plan. We don't tend to purchase it for the like 15, 18-day trips. Should we? Maybe. I don't know. But it's your risk tolerance, right?
Yeah. We bought something similar when we took like a 2-week trip to Thailand for our honeymoon. It was like World Nomads health insurance or something like that. It's pretty cheap.
Okay.
It was like for the 2 weeks, and both of us, it was like $150 maybe.
And it could literally save your ass.
Oh yeah. Yep. Thankfully we didn't need it, but yeah.
That's the beauty of insurance, though, you know.
Becky, and prepping.
Yes, that's it. Well, when she went to England, I said, buy all the insurance you can get on the van when you rent it there. And she did. And you know what? She scratched up the roof of the van going into underground parking. And then somebody hit her in a parking lot. So one was, she was parked at night and whatever. And anyway, so 250-pound deductible probably saved her 5,000 pounds in damages. So, and it was very limited, but they just, whatever it is, they put it up there. So yeah, Chris says AMA is 120 a year. A flat tire change pays for that once. Yeah. The one we have will tow you, I don't know, it's 100 or 200 kilometers. So, 100 to 100 and it'll be 160 miles, something like that. And they'll bring you gas. They'll charge you battery. They'll, So anyway, it's worth it.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. Number 3. This is one that's happened to me. So here we go, guys. Let's see. We're going to go true or false. We were lost driving without phone data. So Matt's trying not to smile. Okay. So it's happened to me on multiple occasions. It really sucks when you're in a foreign country, or well, I say foreign, it's not like the U.S. is like the Middle East or anything, but it's just a different feeling when you're not home, right? Road trips in general are that way. So
yeah,
I'm going to go false on this one simply because I'm almost wondering if you might have pulled that from my podcast. Now, I'm not saying you did, but I'm just wondering. So if anybody else is out there wants to try, we'll give it another minute. But one thing I did this time, I wish I could remember who sent it to me. Somebody sent me an email through Jack, through the expert council, and they told me about maps.me. And I installed that on my phone this time, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. So Chris Dixon goes true. I'm going to go false. The smirk on Matt's face tells me I'm thinking it's false, but I might be wrong. So go ahead. What is it, sir?
It's false. We did not get lost without phone data, but man, we were in a spot that I would not want to be lost. I would not want to be lost without.
Was that in the Oregon area? Or where was it?
This was in Sequoia. So we stayed late. We did this awesome hike. Easily my favorite hike I've ever been. If you go to Sequoia, you got to do Buck Rock Lookout Tower. It's awesome.
Okay.
So we stayed a little too late, and so we're leaving, and I thought I was there. There's obviously it's a national park. There's not like a bunch of roads out of there. There's like maybe 2.
Sure.
To go where we were staying to our Airbnb. My parents go one way. We go a different way, thinking I'm going to save time. Now, we also had a bunch of delays. The kids are crying. They're hungry, diaper, blah, 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 all these things. So we had to keep stopping. So it kept getting later and later and later. And on our way, we were taking some like windy back roads, and it's just dark. I mean, it should be pretty like relatively light out, but when you're at like, I don't know, 6,000 feet and the sun goes down behind the mountains, like it's just dark. You got no light. So like the locals are coming up like behind us with their headlights and just coming.
Oh yeah, because they know.
And yeah, there's all these turny roads. But I thought to my wife, I'm like, if Google didn't say like we could take this road to get to our Airbnb, I would not want to be on this road. And like I live on similar roads, but I'm not from the area.
Right.
So like this, I would not want to get stuck out here because I don't think anybody would stop to help me.
Chris Dixon says this, and he's right. This is not us old men speaking here. This is the truth. Driving at night somewhere unfamiliar is way different than driving in the daylight. Because, at least during the day, you can see twists and turns. Yeah, it absolutely is. That to me, that's why I like to start early in the morning. If I have a long drive, I want my after dark driving in the morning when I'm fresh, and I want to be off the road before it gets dark at night. So if I can get 12 hours in, I'm great. But I really don't love being on the road for 10, 12, 14 hours and finishing up 2 or 3 hours after dark. It's not very enjoyable.
So, like those gas station maps that they have. I mean, you could buy a map for it's like a big book, right? That it could be all of California. If they charge like $20 for that, how valuable would that be in that? Like if you were stuck somewhere, like I know we're somewhere along this road, it's only, you can figure out like, I mean, I'm right at that age where like I did have to use paper maps before I got getting a smartphone. So I still know how to do it. I can figure it out.
I want to share this because Chuck, being our resident medical expert, this is awesome. And it makes sense. So at night driving, he says you go slower and obviously more cautious, which increases the stress levels, which then increases your fatigue, which then probably increases your likelihood of making mistakes.
Sure.
Which also, like you said, increases the stress level, which puts your anxiety up. Yeah, that makes absolute sense. Thank you, Chuck, because that's what makes it so unenjoyable. And then on the rare occasion, add inclement weather to a long day after dark. And that's what I do.
I'm glad we had good weather. I didn't even think about that. That'd be really rough.
We were coming back from San Diego 5 years ago. And this is before I realized that 10 hours for us is about the sweet spot, 10 to 11 at the most. And I think it was I booked us a 15-hour drive that day. And we were coming in. Now, if my geography is right, somebody can stop me. I think I am. You go through Salt Lake City, and then you come to Idaho Falls after that. And yeah, so about Salt Lake City, and if I remember, I think it was maybe 3 more hours to go. Yeah, I see that. It started to rain. So we'd been on the road for 12 hours. It was dark, unfamiliar roads, and it started to rain. So I remember that was the day I decided no more of these late night excursions on roads I'm not familiar with. So I'll start at 3:30 in the morning because you got optimism and energy and the sun's coming. So you're kind of chasing the sun. Whereas in the evening, you feel desperation because you're trying to fight. So, okay. Hands up for anybody out there if you've ever turned the radio down to see better, because I have. And
it's all about focus, right?
That's it. I don't think it's about seeing better. I think it's about digesting or interpreting what you're seeing. You know what I mean? Your brain. For me, if there's a lot of noise in the background, I have a hell of a time focusing. And so, again, this will be Old Man Yells at Cloud episode because it's a whole bunch of things we all do. But yes, you've done that too then, have you, Matt?
Yeah. Yeah, I also can't hear a damn thing without my glasses. So
that's fair. Yeah. Dixon says if your hand ain't up, you're full of it. So a couple quick things. So like I said, coming back, it was somewhere between Kentucky and Missouri in there that first day in the September. Lost my data. And of course, I had a bunch of plans. I'm like, well, what can I do if this happens? But I didn't implement any of them like a good prepper, right? We do. I mean, this is why I share my failings, So I didn't. I had nothing. So I had to pull over, and I was coming up to an off ramp, and I pulled into, I don't even know what it was, some taco shop or something that had free Wi-Fi, because I couldn't call because they shut all my data, my whole phone off, because I was supposed to be on an international plane. Anyway, you know how it is. That phone companies are miserable at the best of times. So I had to get Wi-Fi so I could send Becky an iMessage and say, you need to get on the phone, fix this. I'm not panicked, but I wasn't real happy. And she's at work trying to deal with some fire she had to put out at the daycare. She was so gracious and helped me, but I got it back on. So now I do a few things. I downloaded maps.me, which is an offline GPS. So if you don't know this, you can use any old iPhone with the GPS only, as long as you download the maps ahead of time. Now, I believe Google has that function as well, but it's not very accessible on mobile. I also, here's something else that happened to me not too long ago. I was heading out of town to take photos of a bank property. It was about an hour's drive. I get a half hour out of town, my phone resets and it won't turn back on. Guess what? That's the only way that I can take photos. I don't know what happened. It was I was recording a podcast on the road, so I had to unplug it. I turned around, drove all the way home, looked it up on the internet, found out that there's a secret combination that will force reset the iPhone. I believe it's volume up, volume down, and then hold the power button, because normally just power and volume is all it takes for me to reset a phone. Wouldn't work. It was like in some lost land. So I also now keep an old phone in my car, charged up with maps on it as well. And I bought a spiral bound North American Road Atlas, which is hidden down in the bottom of the seat. So
Nice.
I ain't going to happen to me. I'll say that. Something else will happen, but at least that'll be taken care of.
Right. Yeah.
So Chuck People says it's for turning the volume down. Says it's for your concentration level. Instinctively increase your awareness level. That makes sense. All right, number 4. Here we go, guys. So again, yay or nay? Is this true? Is this false? We ran out of gas. Now, I think I'm going to wait and see if anybody else, I'm going to give them a minute. I think in all my life, I've only ran out of gas one time. I was really close, but we were living way back in the woods. I had to drive. So we were halfway to each town. I drove to the town, but it was Sunday and the gas station was closed. So I had to turn around and drive back to the other town. So it was 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back, then 20 minutes into the other town. And I was on E the whole time. I got to the last hill. I got to the last hill and ran out of gas right by my uncle's house. So I went over. He had a jerry can with him, but it didn't have a nozzle on it. So I had to cut a pop bottle up and make a field expedient funnel. So anyway, I'm going to go with false on this just to be contrary. Dixon says true. Robert says true. What say you, Matt?
It is false.
Okay.
And it wasn't even us. It was my parents and their rental car. They also almost ran out of gas. So, and it was that same trip. So, where we took one way, where I was not comfortable if we lost data, and they went another way to try to a more traditional route to get out of Sequoia at the end of the day to go get gas. And at the trailhead, they were like, hey, we got a quarter tank. And I don't know if anybody here has been to Sequoia. It takes 2 hours to from crossing that entrance gate, to get anywhere, to go see anything. And so it takes a long time to get out and then some, right? So, they were cutting it very, very close, but they made it.
So, okay. I'm going to talk about another thing I have implemented on my road trips, but I also want to talk about how I don't do it all the time. So I try to go to half a tank. So on long road trips, half is my empty. When I get to half, the next gas station I stop. And I'm willing to do that 90% of the time. The problem is toward the end of the day, I like to push my luck. Now, I did it once this time. I pulled into the gas station and the gas light came on. So I probably burnt 7/8 of a tank, more than I should have. But I get stuck in my ways. Last year, coming back, same thing. I was pushing into Saskatoon and I missed the last gas station on the highway. And I was down to maybe I hate to even admit it, about 15 kilometers. You know how you can bring up how much you have left?
Yeah.
It was because I'm stubborn and I have to get over that. I have to be dispassionate, but most times half a tank and I pull over while we're driving. I'm getting better at it because I've had too many close calls for sure.
Yeah. For me, driving home from work, it's always like, I just want to get home. I don't want to stop for gas. Like,
I know.
It's already late. I'm hungry. I'm sure my wife is ready for me to be home to, help take care of the kids and get dinner ready and blah, blah, blah. And like, I don't want to stop for another 5-10 minutes.
So my sister has 3 kids. She has twins that are 2 years older than my twins. And then she has Emily, who I believe is 2 years younger than my girls. So we were waiting for her to have her baby. We knew it was coming soon. It was an hour and a half drive from our town. So my sister called. It's about 9:30 at night. She says, I'm in Kentville. I'm going into labor. We're like, okay, we're coming. So we drove into town. We met mom and dad. Becky and mom went in one car. Dad and I went in the other. Dad drove mom's car. Mom doesn't believe in getting gas until the light comes on, no matter how many times I tell her. We get in and we had an hour and a half drive. So we drive all the way there on less than a quarter of a tank, probably an eighth of a tank. Now it's just a little Hyundai, so it was okay. I don't remember exactly what happened, but we get up there, we sit around till about 1 a.m, and they say, you guys can go home. She's not going to have the baby. So we left town. There was no gas stations open, I'm pretty sure is what happened. But we knew there was one about 40 minutes down on the highway. So my sister calls, well, her husband, we're about halfway to that gas station and says she's having the baby. So Dad and I look at each other and we say, what do we do? So we decided to keep going till we got to the gas station and turn around. That should be the end of the story. The problem is the gas station was also closed.
Oh, gosh.
So I remember just sitting on pins and needles. We get all the way there. We're like, well, it's closer to go back to the hospital than to go down the valley home. We did make it. We parked and we ended up going to the gas station in the morning. But there's no reason. Why do we do it? Why do we do that to ourselves, putting ourselves through that,
Just because you get a adrenaline rush. Just like, I can do it. I'm going to make it.
I don't know. Maybe it's
I don't know.
Us as a man, I'm always like trying to push the limits of that shit sometimes, but
it's low risk, right? It's like,
it really is.
What's the worst thing that can happen if I run out of gas? I'm gonna figure it out, right?
A little egg on my face, or your buddy will be like, oh, what a good prepper you are, or it'll make a good story for the podcast. But
I do have a prepping win this weekend. I put out a video of I went to a prepper estate sale. The story is funny. I can tell you after the show. But we went on Friday, scoped it out for like an hour. We went home. I went back the next day and got the stuff that I actually wanted. I got 6 5-gallon gas cans for free.
For free? How did that happen?
Free. It was in a pile of junk.
Okay. Well,
and I put water in them and I looked to see if they were punctured, and they all seemed to hold. So,
that's not bad.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty sweet.
Man, yeah, because I saw your video, and to be honest, it looked more like a hoarder's estate sale than a prepper's estate sale.
That's exact. So I'll just tell the rest of the story then.
Sure, go for it.
So I get there and I'm like, hey, so what's the deal here? And one of his buddies was helping out and he's got to get rid of all this stuff or he misses out on half of the money. Something he's selling his mom's place and it must get it split or something. I don't know. And he goes, yeah, he's a prepper. And so he's got all this stuff. And I just had this shit-eating grin on my face. Dude, this ain't prepping. This is trash. It is 99% trash. I mean, I apologize for that video. It is so disorienting because it's so fast and there's so much stuff. You can't focus on anything that's there. But when I got there, there's I don't know, a 10 by 30 foot spot of just Bud Light beer bottles. And I think they tried to burn them at some point. to get
Oh,
it. I don't know. Like that was just one part of it. And it's like, I don't know, 5 acres worth of junk.
did you buy anything or did you just get the gas cans for free and call it a day?
I got the gas can. I got one of those prefab ponds that are like plastic that had cracks in it. That was free. I fixed that today. I got to test it still. I got some like cable that I might make like a little like zip line for something like that for the kids.
Okay.
That was free. An old wood ladder. That was free. Rebar. That was free. One of them like big rock breakers. They're like, I don't know, like a inch in diameter and they're like 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
That was $40. The cable was $25. And I bought some old wood barn doors for like $50 total. So it was like $130 for a bunch of stuff.
And you were happy with what you got?
I was pretty happy. I mean, those gas cans alone, free.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the best part. I should have just stopped there.
I love it. Whenever I do bank properties, I'll usually find a milk crate and a gas jug, or on the side of the road, I've been known to find. I did find one gas jug completely full of gas one time on the side of the road. So
how about that?
It worked. It was good. It smelled like gas. Didn't smell skunky. I'm like, I'll try it. Put it in the 4-wheeler, and it burnt. So
I was gonna ask, like, you sure it was gas and not urine?
Yeah, it was. It didn't. Yeah, at least it smelled like it. It burnt. So It was either high octane piss or it was gas. So. All right. So number 5. So get ready with your votes, guys. The headlight on my truck burned out. So, that one seems really believable, but it could be one of those that you put in there just to kind of, twist with me. But I'm going to go with true on this one. We'll see if anybody else gets a vote in before we decide. I don't. If anybody's out there, if you've ever experienced a blinker going out or a turn signal, most of them you'll hear it blinking faster because I don't know. Do you know? Is it the resistor that, or do you know what causes that?
Sounds right.
Yeah,
let's
it does.
go with that. That sounds right.
Sure. Whatever it is, it lowers the resist. Anyway, it causes one to blink faster. So if you ever notice you're sitting in your car and you hear tick, 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 really fast, there's a good chance you have a signal light out. So check it before you end up with a ticket. So we have 3 trues: me, Dixon, and Byron. So was it true or false, Matt?
Yep, it was true. It was my headlight went out and we were, I don't know, we were in like Walla Walla, Washington or something like that. I don't remember. I know, it's such a funny name. And we were stopping for something else also, probably get something like a bite to eat. And thankfully I keep a little small like ratchet set in the back of my truck. And so while we were stopped for, I don't remember why, I was able to swap it out. Like I did one and then we like got on the road, the one that was burnt out. And then when we got to the campsite, I went and did the other one because when you do one, the other one's not that far behind. So were you able to tell by driving that it was too dim, or did somebody tell you that it was out? How did I remember? I think it was looking a little dim, or it went out just before we left and I forgot to do it before we hit the road. That sounds more like me. It was starting to go, you said? Or I think it went out before we even left. And it was one of those things that I forgot to do before we even hit the road. That makes sense. I've been there, done that. Sometimes it happens, Yeah. So looks like I think Dowie must be on a delay because he just said, stop being a teenage girl and get an Android. He always has to be so encouraging. Whenever you hang out with John Dowie, at least online, you always leave feeling better about yourself. Let's just put it that way. So no, John's good. John's good shit. So did you keep a bulb on hand or did you have to pick one up? Nope. I had to pick one up. Okay. Cause I would too. I suppose that would be the better prep. Just keep one on hand. I don't know. I have a lot of shit in my truck. Bulbs are one of those things that I would end up it would probably get jarred around and cracked. It would be great to have one. It would, but it's like I found an old Maglite flashlight from probably the 90s. It was underneath the stage that I tore out at the daycare. And I thought, oh, let's open it up. Cause they there's usually an extra bulb in the battery cap or whatever. I opened it up and that bulb was completely shattered in the battery cap. So, one other tip. And also headlights, like you can get them almost anywhere. Like if you needed to, like you could get them at Walmart. You could get them at like any auto, like even like a small
Oh yeah, and gas stations too. A lot of gas
Yep.
stations have the more common bulbs, and
Like
that
the
would be
trucker
your
one.
yeah. Truck stops are incredible for that. One more tip on headlights. Well, two things. Every time you stop, what I do, at least in the States, all the gas pumps have locks, so you can turn them on and let them pump. In my town, they don't. I don't know why. It drives me nuts. But anyway, so when you set your gas to fill, clean your windshield. You'll thank me later, because especially if you're after dark, the bugs on there, just every time you stop, clean your windshield. But at least once a day, clean your headlights too, because especially in the spring and summer when you're driving through bugs, you will be surprised. Or if it's late in the winter and there's been salt on the road, that buildup will kill the distance you'll get out of your lights. So, some places will have special brushes. As long as there's no rocks on them, feel free to use the squeegee. But if it's got rocks and dirt, brush that off first, because it's bad juju to use it on your lights and then put rocks back in so somebody can put it on their windshield. So
Sure.
anyway, yeah. The difference is nuts. Yeah, he's right. Absolutely. And people don't always think about it, but it's worth it. And also, especially if they're really caked on, lather them down really good with water, with the brush. Let them sit while you do your windshield, then come back to them. It'll be a little easier. But
That's a good tip.
yeah, is what it is. All right, number 6. The road to the trailhead was unsuitable for our vehicle. What vehicle were you driving?
At the time, I was in my F-150. Oh,
Okay.
sorry. This was different part. Rental car.
Okay, so guys, do you think the trailhead was unsuitable for the rental car? Now, if it were me driving the rental car, I'd take it anywhere. But Dowie says treat your headlights with plexus. I'll have to try that. So while we were waiting for people to vote, I will tell you a rental car story, because I'm just full of stories. But we were going up the valley one time to pick up wiener pigs. We got, was it 2 or 3? I can't remember. I think it was 2 baby pigs. Anyway, I was parked on the side of the road by my sister's, and the lady next door backed into our truck or our van and made it so it was undrivable, kind of crimped in the fender by the tire. So we ended up having to wait a day. Insurance gets us a rental. And I'm like, well, damn it. I still need to go get these pigs. So I went up, I put a tarp in the trunk of the brand new Dodge Grand Caravan they gave us, and I brought the pigs home in the back of a rental van.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah. So Chris Dixon says rentals are good for every situation. Dowie says all roads are suitable in a rental. So I'm going to go with true on this one as well.
Yep, it was true.
So what happened?
It was that Buck Rock Lookout trailhead. So you got like the main road that goes through Sequoia. You got to turn off, and there's like a campground. And man, I don't know how some of these people get these like travel trailers and fifth wheels back there for camping, but
yeah,
they're like, they got to be professionals or something. I don't know. It's wild. But you got to go past that, and you kind of get going, and the roads really aren't maintained. They're kind of like put them in, and there could be like a heavy flooding one year or something like that, and it just like all the rocks show up and all the dirt goes away. So we're in we were in like a Highlander or something like that. I don't remember.
Okay.
So we're fine. My parents are behind me in a Camry. And I am shocked. Like I am shocked that they didn't like puncture their gas tank or something, or scrape something, just destroy that thing getting to the trailhead, because we actually made it all the way. We made it all the way to the trailhead. My parents ended up parking like, I don't know, a quarter mile down, and then hiked to the trailhead, and then joined us, and then we went on the hike. But man. There was probably one of the roughest roads I've ever seen. So
that's great. And what do you do about that? I mean, there's not a hell of a lot you can prep for, other than if you think you're going to be going somewhere, maybe research it a little ahead of time, but that's not always ideal,
Yeah.
For me with the truck, I keep a tow rope, some clevises, that sort of thing in the truck, so I can help other people in Toyota Camrys get out of situations, but four-wheel drive, good knobby tires, being comfortable with your vehicle, it all helps. But sometimes
Right.
you're just in a bad scenario. Would there have been room to turn around if you decided you didn't want to keep going forward, or was
Yeah.
it pretty? Yeah,
Yeah, you could figure it out.
that's what I was wondering. So yeah, John Dowie says, "Me and a rental, no rope, no problem."
So, if anybody here has been to Sedona, a couple years ago we did one of those pink Jeep tours. It's like they buy these Jeeps and they just like put in like $100,000 into these Jeeps, each Jeep, to make it like outfitted for like doing like all this crazy like rock crawling stuff. Like maybe not like the ultimate, right? But
Sure.
they got to be able to go out there and not get everybody killed out in the desert. And our tour guide was telling us that Google takes you through this route. And so people will just be like trying to get to Sedona, and they'll come down in like on these roads in like a minivan. And he said one time they bottomed out. Well, this minivan bottomed out.
Oh.
And it hit like the oil filter or something, some sort of fluid. And so like they had to like just limp it along all the way into town because there's no way out. You just had to keep going. You just had to push through. And just can you imagine trying to do something crazy like that in a minivan?
One other thing I just thought of is know where your tow points are in your vehicle, because I've seen many people who've been like, "Hey, guess what? You can tow me here," and then they pull off the fender or the plastic or whatever, or they they bend a tie rod or whatever. So also, like, I think, is it the Teslas that have a little screw in thing that in order to give you a
sure.
So know that shit before you head out, because especially if you drive a little dinky vehicle, it's good to know where somebody can tie off on you without doing more damage.
And learn the difference between a recovery strap and a tow strap. It's different.
That is very true. Yes.
Kinetic energy.
Yes, that my brother-in-law still beats me up over that. He's like, "You should have bought a the kinetic strap," because I didn't. I bought a tow strap.
Yeah. Because it's got hooks on it. Recovery straps don't.
Right. So anyway, I should have, and I'll probably upgrade at some point. But Chris Dixon, okay, he'll share later. I got to get it from him. That'll be good. He has a story about tow points. All right, geez. Number 7. Our campsite was on the other side of a washed out road. So, hey, Chicken Hawk, good to have you, brother. Always love having him on here. So, all right, campsite, other side, washed out road. This sounds very believable, because just listening to where you guys traversed, it sounds like that might be true. So what do everybody out there think? True or false that their campsite was on the other side of a washed out road? Chris Dixon goes false. Chicken Hawk says true. Byron Roberts says no metal hooks. I thought it was no wire hangers, for anybody who gets that reference. If you don't, it's okay. It's a really old movie, but anyway. No chains. Yes, chains can be deadly for sure. But I do like clevises. I've really enjoyed using clevises. They, wrap it around twice and then tie it off to itself, because before that, I always just looped it on the ball on my trailer hitch. And you'd want to make sure you got it tight before you started pulling. Otherwise, so. All right. So we've got true, false. I'm going to go with true. True or false?
True.
Oh, so what did you do? And how the hell did that happen?
They had a makeshift road put in. So I was looking for a photo, and I just don't have one. I think it ended up being like all video. Maybe I'll send it in like the if I can find it, I'll send it in the Telegram chat, the workshop.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Telegram chat. And so they must have had heavy flooding that year, the year before, because it looked like just nothing was there. And so they must have brought in like all this fill, these giant culverts. Just like cobbled together. My truck barely fits like across this little thing. And so, what would you do if the road wasn't there? Right. Maybe you could get through the river, but like, would you want to risk that, or just like turn around and get a hotel in the other, like on the side that you're on? Not, and then what would you do if you were on the other side and stuck during like out road?
That's a tough one. Especially the other side. Because I have been stupid in the past, and I have driven over things that I've stopped, thought, should I do this? I thought, no, I probably shouldn't. And then I went anyway. And then I got stuck, 30 miles off the main drag on a country road, hung up dry on a snowbank with my truck. Didn't matter 4-wheel drive or not. Now I managed to figure out a way. I'm still here, so I didn't die. But sometimes I just do those stupid things. But
yeah,
I bet being on the other side, what would you do? You'd have to wait it out. I mean, I guess that's part of the reason you'd take some extra supplies with you, but whew.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess I didn't think about this part until you mentioned it. I mean, think about all those videos of people that, the forest fires in like Glacier, where someone would be like camping in Glacier, and all of a sudden this forest fire just like flares up and traps them, where they have to, man, there were some wild videos that were coming out. I mean, what was that? Maybe 2019, I think this was, where this person is like driving through all this fire and flame. And it's like, I wouldn't want to be that person, not even for a second. And like, there's like a burning tree in their way. And so they got to stop, and they got to either back all the way up to get back to where they were, or, try to figure out how to turn around and get like helicopter rescued or something. Just a disaster.
Have you been up north in Alberta, or was it you were in no? Okay. So Fort McMurray is a city that exists simply because of the oil sands and the oil patch. Sure. And it's maybe not the farthest north community in Alberta, but it basically one highway in, same highway back out. And you can't go much further north because you just run into Santa Claus. There's really nowhere else to go. And when was that? It was our second or third year out here. So 2015, 2016, my cousin lives up there, and a huge forest fire went through. It burnt some houses, but the main thing it did was almost cut off the highway. And some of the footage that people had, again, driving through it with fire on either side, it was apocalyptic, really. It looked awful. And yes, Chicken Hawk said Gatlinburg. I remember Gatlinburg in Tennessee. It was bad there too. So I don't know what it would be tough. We've been dealing with wildfires here in Alberta the last few days, and there was at least one lady that posted a video heading toward Banff, and I would have turned around. Unless life or limb, I don't think I would have driven through it, because, you can always live to fight another day, but sometimes you get yourself in a bad scenario and you're hooped, Yeah.
Let me share something really quick.
Sure. Yeah. You know how to bring her up there, and I'll bring it up for you.
Yeah. Right here.
All right. Present. Add to stream. Oh, wow. Oh my God. Is this the video?
Yeah, this is the video. Well, it's one of them, right? Like, can you imagine driving through this forest fire trying to, I think it's a father and son in this one.
It's going to explode.
You said the car's heating up and it's going to explode.
Oh my God. That's scary as all get out. Now, yeah. I hope they know the road. But here's the thing. I don't think there's any turning around at that point. Like, you imagine backing down into that and your tires catch fire, or, yeah. Woo.
Sounds like that movie Dante's Peak with the volcano.
I was thinking Volcano, the other one that came out at the exact same time.
It's probably that one. I don't remember.
No, they were both the same, but that one had Anne Heche and the Men in Black guy there from the Fugitive.
Yes,
Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah, they were in that, and I remember. Yeah, that. Oh, yeah, but I think you're right. The Trees was Dante's Peak that had Pierce Brosnan in it. And I can't remember who his female lead was, but yeah, they both come out the same summer, the same year. But oh man, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'd rather take the flooding over the fire.
I think so too, especially, you can get high ground, right? But the thing about the fire is, if the flames don't get you, the heat might, and if the heat doesn't, the smoke probably will. That's what's scary.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it. All right. Number 8. This one sounds fairly believable. I don't want to give it away, but credit cards not accepted for lunch with no cash on hand. So go ahead and vote, guys. If you've followed my travails over the last few years, you'll know I was in Calgary last summer when the Rogers outage happened, and we did have some cash, but it was odd. And then our town lost all cell service and phone service for a couple of days, and again, it was cash only. So it's funny how quick we become dependent on systems. Hey, Chris Dixon says Rogers true. So that's up here, Rogers Telecom. Oh, true. I'm gonna guess false this time because I'm wondering again if you might have maybe listened to the episode and poached that, but I might be wrong. So we'll go. And plus I like to be contrary minded. So we have 2 trues and we have a false. So go ahead and reveal it.
That one's false.
Was it?
We got to a visitor center in Sequoia for lunch, and I thought there was. We were kind of hearing people chatter, like I don't have my car's not working, and so I'm thinking, oh no, like we're gonna be stuck. I keep some cash. I got what is it? It's a cash belt, CHCHE cash belt from like Wazoo, whatever. It's got like Velcro or whatever in it. Yeah. Okay. So like I fold up like I got like $150 or something like that at any given time in my belt.
Okay.
And so like they also have the cash beanie. That's probably what they're more like known for. But anyways, you can keep cash on hand just by wearing your stuff. And I wear a belt every day. And so it's a good way to keep cash. But thankfully we didn't need it. Credit cards were working just fine.
That's cool. I never heard of the cash belt. I got to look into that because when I fly, quite often I'll put a little cash under my insole in my shoe.
Sure.
The problem with that is it can get a little slippery. Even though it's in between there, it still causes your insole to move, but it's a good thing. I always used to have a rule of thumb that if I was heading out of town, I'd have $100 on me, but I try to do $200 or $300 now because $100 doesn't go where it used to. Sure. I can tell you that. Like when my truck's on E, it's usually over $100 to fill it now. And so it's not cheap. And,
there you go.
Oh, here we go. Let's bring this up here. Hang on.
Here's the cash belt.
So where does the cash go inside the cash?
So it's like nylon webbing on the belt, and it's secured with Velcro. Let's see. Do they have a good demo picture? Not really. But maybe I'd say 50% of it you could 50, maybe 25% of it you could open up and put stuff in there.
Oh, okay. So is it like a strip, like a second layer you can pull the whole layer off, or does it just kind of unvelcro but it's sewed at the bottom or something?
Yeah, it's sewed at the bottom. It's Velcro's at the top, it's sewed at the bottom, kind of like a wallet. So,
I like that a lot.
Yeah. And so here's their beanie. They got, they can have all this stuff in here. So
that's cool. If I ever wore a beanie, I'd probably get one of those. No.
Yep. They make ball caps too that do the same thing.
Let's see what everybody says here. So Chicken Hawk says, back in the day, 01, I kept $10 in the roof of my car behind the dome light in case I needed gas. Again, $10 went a lot further in 2001, but that's not a bad idea. Anything's better. Byron says, I keep 100 on me for emergency and more of out of state. Yeah, that's for me too. So if I'm going to the city, $100 will get me home. If I'm going to Calgary, 4 hours away, a couple hundred probably for sure. And if I'm out of town, 300. Dowie says 300 wham, walking around money. I like that. And he says, I have a lot these days because of my side hustle. I have to have cash to buy and make change. And that's one thing I do. If a customer pays me in cash, I just leave it in my wallet if I can help it, because, most of our purchases come from debit anyway. So if somebody pays me, I just leave it in my wallet and forget about it. It just, yeah, not that it's always easy to forget about cash, but it's, yeah, like Chris Dixon says, 300 minimum now, because yeah, it used to be 100, and if we keep getting the carbon tax put on our gas, it'll probably have to be 500. So there you go.
The barrel business must be pretty good for John Dowie there.
Oh boy, I tell you, he's got 55-gallon drums full of $100 bills. He's like the Walter White of reselling 55-gallon drums. So they someday he'll have to rent a storage locker just to keep his drums full of cash. It'll be wonderful. So it would just, oh, I shouldn't say that too loud because the IRS anyway. So yeah. All right, number 9, we ran out of diapers. Oh, that would suck. I remember twins when we had them. We were formula and diapers, so we were always paranoid about running out of either. We always kept lots on hand, but we had some sticky, shitty situations on a few occasions. So, anybody dare guess whether this is true or false? Just knowing the nature of babies, I'm going to go with true on this one. And yeah, because oh my God, did you guys ever try what do they call them? Reused cloth diapers?
No, my wife has a poop aversion.
Sure, I get it.
She's like,
I've had relatives that have tried it. Yeah, I have no interest, zero interest. You know,
yeah. Like we throw onesies away that are too poopy.
Oh,
it's like, hey, blow out, just throw it in the garbage.
Absolutely. That may or may not happen to grown men sometimes too. So you know.
Oh,
Chicken Hawk says not true. Byron Roberts says true. I'm going to go with true. And John Dowie's still counting his money. So, yes or no?
That one is true. But
what in the world? Go ahead. You have the floor.
So I'm changing my son's diaper, and I go. It is the last diaper, brand new. I go to put the little Velcro tabs on, and like they make these things by the millions, right? And so I go to pull the tab to put it over the front, and it snaps. And so I'm like, are you kidding me? And so my wife's like, what are you going to do? Like he needs a new diaper. Like, we're not going to put an old dirty diaper on him. And so I rummaged through whatever the truck, and I found some electrical tape. And man, I wish I got a picture. I did electrical tape around his waist just to hold up his diaper until we got home.
Dude, that's perfect. So Chicken Hawk said he used the shirt off his back until he made it home one time. Now, I'm not sure if he means he used it on himself or on his baby. Whatever one it is. No judgment here. You know, this is a judgment-free zone. We're all anarchists. So, and Dowie was in the other room. See, he went in the other room to count his money, and now he's back. So,
yeah,
he ran out of fingers and toes. So, the shirt off his back. I believe it. That's a great idea. So, electrical tape. You're an electrician. There's probably a good reason that you did that.
Yep.
Oh, no. Oh, well, we'll save this one. John Dowie's going to be on the episode on the Workshop Radio May 21st. So we'll get him to tell his brutal drunk poop story.
Instead of asking people what they did for a high school job, just ask them if they have a brutal drunk poop story.
That is true. Dixon says we've done the shirt and plastic grocery bag for diaper disaster relief. Hey, that's a great... I got to ask Becky. So I have this awful habit of blacking out the worst situations. You know, I just completely forget them. So
that sounds like a feature, not a bug.
Well, that's true. I remember the time that Charlotte finger painted with the stuff from her diaper. I do remember that, but I don't remember if we ever ran out of diapers. So I'll have to ask her and I'll report back because it sounds like something we would have done, but yeah. Oh, all right. Number 10. I have a good story that goes in line with this one. We were locked out of our rental vehicle. So we know that you had a rental vehicle. So that much is true. We'll see if we can figure out whether this is a true or false statement. So if everybody wants to vote while you're at it, we'll give them a minute. And you were driving, was it a truck that you rented or was it something else?
This one, when we rented, it was a Toyota Highlander. So
okay, fair enough. So Byron goes true. Chris Dixon says false. I'm going to go false with this one. And Dowie says true because new cars are trash. Also true. And Chicken Hawk says not true. So, drum roll, please. True or false?
False. Did not get locked out. But Dowie is true in that new cars are trash. Because so those key fobs, right? They give you 2 when you rent a vehicle, but they're always tethered together. So
right, they're tethered together with
what is that?
With aircraft cable, right?
Yeah,
a lot of them. Oh man, that's true. So okay,
maybe they have the door code on the. Yes, that is true. Toyotas, maybe other brands. I think when I've had to rent a GMC, it won't let you lock the keys in the vehicle. That's true. So that's getting better, I guess. But also, just what would you do if you got locked out in a rental vehicle?
So I have many stories. I have since rectified that situation with my truck. But first off, because I didn't know this, there's probably somebody else out there who doesn't know this. We've driven Dodges for many, many years. And when they switched to the key fob, I was a solid year before I realized that if you hit that little spring-loaded thing, there's a key in there. So if you don't know that, play around with your key fob because there's probably a hidden key in there, just so you know, in case your battery ever dies. But take that key in, go to your local hardware store and tell them, I want a key cut for my truck, car, whatever. And they're going to say, oh, but it won't start your vehicle. And just say, I don't care. All I want is a $3 key that will open my doors.
Yeah,
and then find somewhere to hide it. I don't have much faith in those magnetic key, the boxes. I don't know. I have mine. I don't know if I should. Anyway, I'm going to, in the gas cap, there's a little thing when the door opens, there's a nice little slot in there. It's been in there for 2 years and it won't go anywhere. I left it just to see. So let's see, 2007, we were driving to Saskatchewan. We stopped in Ontario for a few days to visit family. We decided we were going to drive across the border into, what is Port Huron, near Detroit. They gave us hell at the border because we had everything we owned in the van. We went to the movies. We stopped in a very shady neighborhood to get gas. Becky went out to go in and prepay. I was nervous because it was a shady neighborhood. And I said, do you have your key? She said no. I heard yes. I locked the doors.
Oh, no.
At 5 minutes to closing time at this gas station, the guy's like, well, I'm closing up. We're like, okay. Turns all the lights off on us at the gas station. He was nice enough to let us use his phone to call a locksmith at midnight in a less than reputable neighborhood. And he came and opened it for, I think it was $60 at that time. So
sure.
Always have an extra key somewhere. And Chris Dixon says, the driver's door glass is the cheapest glass in a vehicle. Don't be afraid to break it if need be. All the other windows are double or triple the price. Interesting.
That's an awesome tip.
Yeah. Chicken Hawk says, zip tie it under the vehicle. And Chicken Hawk says, lost a key fob in the car and could not lock the car until I found it. That's incredible. Also, one more tip about this. We have run into this many times. We quite often, when we buy our vehicles, they'll be a year or two old. So we're usually buying them from used dealerships. And they are notorious for only giving you one key fob.
Sure.
So when you're buying a vehicle, everybody looks at the tires. Everybody thinks, 100 different things, but they don't think about the key fobs. Make them buy you or get you a second key fob as part of the sale. If they won't, you can, is it Dodge that does, I think it's a valet key. So it's a key with a chip in it, or it's it doesn't unlock the doors, but it'll start your vehicle for $80 instead of $300. So that's an option too. But anyway, get 2 key fobs when you buy your vehicle because you'll thank me later for it.
My truck has the door code, right?
Yes. Oh, right.
And
okay.
When I first bought the truck, I'm like, oh, I'll set a password later. Well, that first weekend that I had the truck, I started it and locked the door, and didn't have an extra set of keys on me, and so I did have to end up having to pay to get the truck unlocked. But they make like those, they're almost like air shims, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You could get the window cracked maybe and pump it up, get the door open a little bit and try to hit the unlock button. The other thing is those door codes. Instead of taking a picture of the number, someone gave me the tip, put it in your phone, save it as truck code or whatever. And so you can just look up a contact as truck code. Because instead of trying to scroll, looking for the picture, blah, 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 just as a contact, save it as the code.
Dude, that's great. I love that tip.
Yeah.
That makes sense because did you not have the code for your door or just forgot it? Did you say?
I didn't set it up. I had it like for a week and it just didn't have it set up yet. So
that's usually when people lock themselves in or out of vehicles, is when you have new vehicles, you're not used to the process or procedure. That's pretty common. So if it's for what it's worth, remember that when you get a new vehicle, because that's usually when we've done it too.
Yeah.
So Chris Dixon, I didn't know this, said they make credit card keys. They take some jiggling and farting around to make it work, but it will get you in. That is interesting. I bet you, because they'd be thin, it would almost be like, you ever see people when they take a picture of a key and then they'll cut it out in like a pop can and then they'll use a lock picking wrench as well. So the aluminum is the key, so it puts all the pins up, but you don't put any pressure on it. You use a lock picking wrench or whatever bar, and that'll turn it. So I might have to look into one of those. I did not know that. We did pretty good. 90 minutes and we got through 10 true or falses. I actually think this has the potential to be an ongoing series. I really like this. I do, sure. People loved it. You can tell they did, because audience interaction and we have a hell of a time. It's just a nice laid back Sunday night, but I think it would be cool.
It's all plausible, right? All these things could have happened, and 90 other things could have happened, but these are the ones that stuck out to me.
And the cool thing is, whether it's complete bullshit or it's true, we still learn lessons off them, because how many great tips did we get from the audience, from the workshop fellow delinquents this evening, right? So
yeah, we could have the in the show notes have all the tips, or
yes,
in the roundup.
I'll do my damnedest to collect them. I probably won't, to be honest, but we'll see.
That's fine.
I'm so bad.
Just run it through Chat GPT, upload the transcript, and be like, hey, what are the tips from this episode? Thanks.
Yeah, they probably would. And be like, they'll start charging me for it soon. So
yeah, probably.
Well, brother Matt, how do people find you if they want to follow up with you?
You can go to farmhoplife.com. I got YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the fun stuff. I do a men's forum every Monday night at 7:30 Mountain Time. I think that's like right the same time you've got a show.
What night did you say? Monday night?
Monday.
No,
night.
I don't do Monday shows. But
man, I thought you had Monday nights going on.
Thursday through Sunday most weeks.
Okay,
so.
I gotcha. And then I typically do interviews a little bit later in the week, published on Fridays. So I put out 2 pieces of content a week. Okay. And then pretty active on Twitter, especially. That seems to be my bread and butter. But I check all the others as well. So
have you tried NOSTR yet, or NOSTR, whatever it is?
No, I looked at it and I'm like, I don't know what this is. I'll come back to it later.
I'm digging it. With all this new social media, it's always the community that drags me kicking and screaming. They're like, you need to do this, Tim. And I'm like, yeah, no, probably not. Then they'll keep bugging me and say, hey, you need to do it. And then I did, and then I like it. So whatever. It's cool. I get it. It's another thing. But the engagement's been really good over there for sure.
I guess I'll have to get into the more specific communities, because I think I was just looking at like the main page and people are just like asking for tips or something. I don't know. And like posting weird art.
It is weird. So what I do is like any other platform, when you first go on it, find people that you like, go in and pick 10 or 12 people that then look at who they're following, and then follow all those people. That seems to be a good way to get good content quick. That's what I did. So
nice. Yeah. Oh, one last thing about About my social medias, I take anybody that does any sort of homesteading as an interview. I mean, even Tim's been on my show, and he
That
doesn't
is
even
very true.
homestead.
No, it was fun. We had a grand old time. I loved it.
Yeah, we did. And so, if you're interested, I'd love to talk to you, learn something. So hit me up.
Absolutely. Give Matt a follow, guys. Get on his show. He's a great interviewer. We had a lot of fun. So thanks, Matt. If you want to hang in the background. Yeah, no, sure. Anytime, brother. If you want to hang in the back for just a second, I'll close up and I'll be right back with you.
Sounds good.
Well, guys, I hope you dug that. That was the inaugural edition of the Workshop Radio. Really just episode 301. I appreciate you guys coming in. This was a lot of fun. We'll have to do this more often. It made for a really nice, relaxed, interactive Sunday evening show. And Matt's always fun. I mean, Matt could have ran the show without me here. He did a great job. So make sure you give him some love on the Workshop from the Workshop family. Get over there, follow him, add him in your podcast, get on his show, because that's the best way. If you're trying to get out and get your story or your brand known, get on other people's podcasts, embrace each other's communities, and share and grow together, guys. So thanks for a wonderful Sunday evening. It's been great being back in the studio chair. Always love these evenings spending with you guys. So we will, one more thing. Tomorrow night, I think it's 6:30 perhaps on the Lots Project on Brian's podcast. I'll be over there. I'll make sure it's in the Telegram group, but make sure you come by and give us a listen. So with that, guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.